So Cheng, I just wanted to ask you first, just for my understanding, what's the what's the material difference to storing the blobs in the database versus just having pointers to the blobs as external assets in a file system or an S3 bucket somewhere? First of all, is that a correct interpretation of one of the architectural decisions you made? And if so, like what are the trade-offs there?
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the trade-offs. So what what the main difference is you get a lot more optimizations when you can store the blobs inline. So for example, if you need to access a chunk of data, like a bunch of images, if it's stored in line, that can be one request as opposed to as many requests as there are images. So one of the problems that a lot of folks run into when working with a lot of multimodal data is getting throttled by the object store. So if you have tons of images or videos and you're accessing them through pointers, a lot of times people run into either request limits or they'll get charged a lot for different number of requests. So storing them in line makes it faster when you can access them in blocks. You can coalesce requests, and it's just a lot easier to manage for data synchronization. Now, because multimodal data can span from a few kilobytes to multiple gigabytes or even
Right.
possibly even bigger, you want options. So that's why we recently released the Blob V2 API, which has the same API, but based on the size and the type of data, you can choose between three or four different storage strategies under the hood. But for the user, it appears to be the same API. So it's a lot easier to work with while you're enjoying all of the performance optimizations.
So you give users the option of storing the data, the blobs in the database or external, sort
Yeah,
of as per configuration.
exactly.
So what's the bandwidth concerns? I mean, obviously, working with this volume of data is a massive pain for a lot of people, or at least it's uncharted territory. I mean, I remember even when we'd have lots of image data on a file system, moving the images around and batch copying them, etc., was always a challenge and error prone and bandwidth prone. I mean, obviously, if they store the data inside Lance, like it doesn't change the fact that all that binary data is still sitting somewhere. So are we just beyond the scenario now where people can copy this data around nodes at all? Like, is it actually about physically removing disks and carrying them into a different room or a different node? Like, what situation are we in with this volume of data?
Yeah, I mean that is a great question. I think we've already gone past the bandwidth limit for object store in a lot of places. So this is actually one of the reasons why there's another recent feature we call multi-base, which is you can actually use multiple storage accounts and split a single table into multiple buckets. And this is actually one way to get around that bandwidth limit. So you can set up your table across three or four blob store or object store accounts and have triple the bandwidth.
Wow.